Tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and I bringing you tonight's English news edition is Martina Avera. Let us begin by informing you that hybrid vehicles are set to be taxed, and gambling companies will also be required to pay a 40% tax. These are among the provisions included in revised tax and duty laws passed by the Chamber of Deputies on Tuesday. The newly adopted laws include amendments to the law on income tax, the law establishing value-added tax, and the law governing excise duty. These laws are intended to boost the country's economy and enhance domestic resource mobilization in line with the National Development Agenda (NST2). The laws also introduce provisions on offenses, crimes, and penalties. This specific provision sparked debate among the MPs, with some calling for the removal of imprisonment as a penalty for those who fail to pay taxes as required. The debate ended with an agreement that imprisonment should be retained but only applied as a secondary option in cases of repeat offenses. The amendment to the income tax law includes new provisions on taxing gambling activities. It stipulates that companies operating in the gambling sector must pay a 40% tax calculated on the difference between the total amounts revised and the received and the winnings paid out. The amendment to the VAT law removes some goods and services from the VAT exemption list, including mobile phones and SIM cards, information and communication technology equipment and services, as well as hybrid and battery-powered vehicles. A new tax on the hybrid vehicles has also been introduced. Vehicles less than 3 years old will be taxed at a rate of 5%, those between 3 and 8 years old at 10%, and vehicles older than 8 years at 15%. Experts in construction and those who rely on such services were presented with an upgraded system for applying for building permits this Tuesday, aimed at speeding up service delivery. This system is part of the implementation of a new urban housing policy approved by the Cabinet in February this year. Urban planning experts and decision makers in building permit issuance were introduced to the revamped system named Kubaka 2.0. The system is integrated with 8 different government platforms, including Irembo, RDB, NIDA, RAA, and others. Although officially launched today, the system has been in use since December 2024 and has brought significant improvements. According to officials, its implementation has led to a 30% acceleration in building permit issuance and a 70% reduction in both costs and time, with the process now taking less than 10 minutes instead of 2 hours, thanks to reduced requirements. The mayor of Kigali City, Dusengiyumva Samuel, expressed appreciation for the way the system is speeding up service delivery.
Allow me to say that in 2024, by end of the year, we had received close to 50,000 requests of construction permits in the city. But due to various reasons, including the systems, the friendliness, the efficiency, but also the flexibility of the system, we're only able to process and deliver 30,000 permits. Now we already know who is doing what. If you say you are an engineer, you can be verified from the source. If you say you are an architect, you can be verified. If you pretend to be a landowner, because I've also seen some cases of fraud where people pretend to be the landowners, but they are not. So now, at least with technology, we've been able to bring control to this.
The previous system for building permits, introduced in 2016, had faced widespread criticism for enabling corruption and slowing down service delivery. The Director General of the Rwanda Information Society Authority, RISA, Innocent Muhizi, stated that any errors the system might detect in service delivery will continue to be addressed.
And I call upon everybody, please use the system, critique it, challenge us, let us know what we need to improve, and please bear with us as we fix some of the teething issues that we might encounter, because it's not yet perfect. But we want to ensure you that very soon we have a system that meets the needs of the citizen.
In February this year, the cabinet approved a new urban housing policy to replace the one adopted in 2015, which had been in place for 10 years. It is projected that by 2035, 52.7% of the population will be living in urban areas, up from 27.9% in 2022 and 18.2% in 2017. Members of the SADC mission began their withdrawal from conflict-ridden eastern DR Congo through Rwanda on Tuesday, April 29th. Adam Squizera has more on this report.
Troops deployed under the Sami DRC mission sent to the Democratic Republic of Congo DRC to support the Congolese Army FLDC in its fight against the M23 rebel group have begun to withdraw from eastern DRC. The M23 claims to defend the rights of Kinyarwanda-speaking Congolese. These forces, contributed by South Africa, Malawi, and Tanzania, have been stationed in DRC since December 2023. A SADC spokesperson confirmed the withdrawal, though the exact number of troops being repatriated was not disclosed. The withdrawal is happening in phases, with all troops expected to leave eastern DRC by June, according to an agreement with M23. On March 20th, the M23 rebels and the SADC mission had signed an agreement on the withdrawal of the forces from DRC, with the rebels allowing them to leave eastern DRC with their weapons and equipments. Aside from around 200 injured soldiers who have flown home in February, this week's withdrawal marks the first official repatriation of the Sami DRC troops. Following M23's capture of Goma at the end of January, the troops have been confined to their bases in the city and were reportedly under the protection of M23 after being overpowered in combat. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adam Squizera, for that report. Livestock farmers and leather goods manufacturers are calling on the government to establish a modern leather processing factory to increase the value of leather products and boost their supply on both local and international markets. These are voices of livestock farmers expressing concern over the lack of a reliable market for their hides of their animals, which ends up forcing them to sell to middlemen at very low prices. However, in order to avoid wasting them entirely, they say they end up accepting the small payments. Some residents of Nyagatare even say they don't hesitate to throw them away. While a local farmer earns no more than 1,000 Rwandan francs for a cow hide, a finished leather product imported from abroad can cost up to 40,000 Rwandan francs. To address the disorder in Rwanda's leather market, the government provided a financial boost of 1.5 billion Rwandan francs to the Leather Value Chain Association. Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente stated that during this 5-year phase of the NST2, the Rwandan government has committed to building a leather processing plant as part of efforts to promote locally made products and grow the national economy. Currently, 1 kilogram of hide sells for between 200 and 250 Rwandan francs. Between 2,000 and 2,500 cows are slaughtered each day, meaning over 730,000 cows are slaughtered annually. Staff at Mibirizi Hospital in Rusizi district have praised the bravery of health workers who refused to abandon patients during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, a decision that led to their deaths. However, they also criticized colleagues who betrayed their fellow workers at the hospital, enabling the Interahamwe militia to attack and kill them. During the commemoration of the 31st anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi, held at Mibirizi Hospital in Gashonga sector, Rusizi Rusizi district. Those remembered included hospital staff, patients, caretakers, and neighbors who were killed. Fabien Kambanda, a nurse who is one of only 2 survivors from Mibirizi Hospital, urged fellow health professionals to uphold values similar to those who chose not to flee and instead stayed with their patients they were responsible for. The Director General of Mibirizi Hospital, Dr. Ozabatiriho Raphael, condemned the health workers who betrayed their colleagues, which resulted in them being killed by the Interahamwe. Emile Nyabyenda, the planning officer in Rusizi district, encouraged survivors of the genocide at Mibirizi Hospital not to be overwhelmed by grief and to uphold the culture of forgiveness toward those who sincerely seek pardon for their role in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Mibirizi Hospital has a memorial site where the bodies of 16 victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi are buried. The hospital administration says it is in discussions about relocating these bodies to the nearby Mibirizi Memorial Site as part of the national initiative to consolidate memorials. Survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Musaza sector, Kirehe district, say that despite the immense hardships they endured while being hunted during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, they are deeply grateful to those who hid them and helped them survive. The event was organized to express gratitude to those who hid survivors and helped them across the Akagera River to seek refuge in Tanzania. A group that came together for this purpose gifted cows to those who protected them and called on anyone with information about the genocide to come forward and share it. Kirehe District Vice Mayor in charge of social affairs, Janvier, praised the initiative of appreciating those who hid Tutsi during the genocide and also reminded those who were granted forgiveness for their crimes to remember to thank those who forgave them. 3 families were honored. The families had successfully hid those being hunted and helped them across the Akagera River to safety in Tanzania. The event took place during a community meeting in Musaza sector. The Vivo Energy Group, known for supplying automotive fuel and lubricants, officially launched a project called Tugendane, which aims to support children with disabilities, especially those with visual impairments, by providing them with learning materials, including specially designed computers. Enora Gladys has more.
The project was launched for the first time at HVP Gatagara in Gwamagana district. The students expressed that the initiative came as a solution to many of the challenges they have been facing.
This program will help us to achieve our goals, to transform our life into a better life. This project will help our life to be transformed and will contribute to our self-reliance. So we appreciate really this program for their contribution to our future better life.
The marketing manager at Vivo Energy Group, Linda Black-Muhirwa, explained the reason behind launching the project named Tugendane.
Tugendane, meaning moving forward together, was an initiative that we've been working on for a while. It's only safe to say that we've been working on it for a year so that we can, bring it out when we're ready to jump on it. Let's visit these children and actually get to know more about them. We understand as we do our CSR, we also have our values on the CSR, which is education, health, and environment. And then we said, why don't we cover 2 of our core values when it comes to the social responsibilities? And then that's how we tapped onto this campaign to help these visually impaired children access education, so that in the future they can access employment. And all these actually motivated us. So we stepped out of our own story of doing business, of selling fuel, like, you always think, and say, why not tap into someone else's story and actually get to understand how these kids can thrive for the future. Now, once we support them, we are looking to supporting them, helping them actually access better education by providing materials, equipment, school fees to those who don't, of course, who cannot afford, and other health or other sanitary equipment, so that in the nearest future, Vivo Energy can actually employ these children, because they also deserve a chance.
The Executive Vice President of Vivo Energy Group highlighted why they chose to focus on visually impaired students.
Why wouldn't we focus on these children? The key word there you said is their children, just like you and me were once children. And I think that's the most important thing, is to make sure that we don't leave any of these children behind. They too have goals, they have dreams, they have aspirations. It's just that they're visually impaired. So it will be actually, it will be difficult to think that we shouldn't think of them. And I think that's what we are doing here as Vivo Energy. We do that across Africa. We do that for the female gender, and we do that for other people, to make sure that everyone in the community walks and achieves their dreams and their potential together. This particular initiative is going to provide the tools that will enable. So like I said, we're supporting with learning materials, we're supporting with mobility. Basically, you had the head teacher talk about here. They have 160 children. Some of the equipment is old. And it's not just learning, but children are children. There are games that they need to do. There are things that they need to do to live a meaningful life like a child, to enjoy their childhood and to enjoy their youth and to dream. And I think if we can do just something small with our partners to enable that, then I feel that we have achieved that. So if we can provide the school with the learning materials.
During the event, Vivo Energy Group supported 60 visually impaired students with school fees for one academic year and provides braille machines for visually impaired students. To enhance education and independence, the Tugendane program is expected to support over 300 children all over the country.
turakwibutsa ko buri sosiyete isabwa n'itegeko kubika ibitabo bya sosiyete ndetse no gushyikiriza RDB amakuru abikubiyemo. Ibyo bitabo birimo igitabo cy'abanyamigabane, icy'abagenewe inyungu ku migabane, inyandiko y'amakuru ya sosiyete, ibaruramari ngarukamwaka n'izindi. Gutanga amakuru y'ugenewe inyungu ku migabane wanyura kuri bo.rdb.rw, naho gutanga izindi nyandiko ukanyura kuri org.rdb.rw.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inkwi, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi harabamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njye muri kaminuza harabanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye zibimamo. Bigereho.
Mvangiye kukubarira 1 2 3 itugwamo. So 1 2 3 gwamo. One girl.
Mbere kanda akanyenyeri 3 4 5 akanyenyeri 2 urwego maze nawe ugwemo.
Ndanezero umunezero nsaba umutima, ndakora akazi kanjye ndacatinga data ntizishira enda nawe gwamo.
wikwisondeka.
Welcome back to the stories making headlines on the international scene. Heading over to Europe, power is almost fully restored in Spain after a massive blackout impacted millions across Europe, including Portugal. NBC News with more.
After a power outage impacting tens of millions, cheers as the lights finally came back on. But questions remain. What caused the massive blackout that brought modern life grinding to a halt? An investigation now underway, but authorities say so far there's no evidence a cyber attack was responsible for the outage, which knocked out phone service, ATMs, and traffic lights, leading to snarling jams across Madrid.
It kind of makes you realize how much we depend on just like electricity and just basic connections.
Hundreds of flights were canceled, and the subway plunged into darkness, with families following emergency lights back to the surface. The blackout also halting play at the Madrid Open and cutting Coco Gauff's post-match interview short.
Not get a lot of sleep.
The American star later posting from darkened locker rooms. The outage scrambling the plans of thousands of American tourists, including Drew Toronto and Shelley Charnoff from New York.
Once we found out that it was more widespread, we were concerned that it was some sort of terrorist or cyber attack, but we really had no way of knowing.
One thing you have to always remember is have money. A lot of people don't carry any cash around. And once the power goes out, no credit cards, no internet, no Venmo, nothing. You have to have cash.
And this morning, a massive blaze at an electrical substation in London. All a reminder of how fragile our critical infrastructure can be.
And lastly, heading over to the world of medicine, a new study published over the weekend in the New England Journal of Medicine has revealed just how effective immunotherapy is at battling cancer and eliminating the need for surgery in some patients. NBC News once more.
When Maureen Sedaris was diagnosed with gastroesophageal cancer over 2 years ago, doctors told her she wouldn't just need chemo and radiation, but they would also have to remove part of her esophagus and stomach.
I wouldn't be able to eat or talk. My two favorite things in life. Are you kidding me?
But then she found a promising clinical trial for patients like her, with tumors that have a genetic mutation called mismatch repair deficiency.
All our cells in the body, when they divide, they make mistakes. And mismatch repair corrects those mistakes. In these tumors, to gain an advantage, the tumors have shut down mismatch repair.
Any tumor can have the mutation, but they predominantly affect colorectal, gastric, pancreatic, and endometrial cancers.
Recently admitted here.
The trial, co-led by Dr. Luis Diaz, had patients skip surgery and instead take an immunotherapy drug.
So this immunotherapy is not just revving the immune system up to fight the tumor.
It's exposing the tumor, and if the reality is the tumor looks foreign, it will wipe it out of the body.
Today, that study finding, the experimental approach is 80% effective in people with the mutation.
This is Maureen, and you see here her active esophageal cancer when we first met her.
That highlighted area right there.
And that black area there.
Okay.
And then after treatment, you can see that that area disappears.
It's gone.
It's gone. Any tumor that needs to go for surgery should be checked for mismatch repair. And in 80% of patients, we might be able to avoid surgery.
Less than a year after her diagnosis, Maureen had no evidence of cancer.
It was like winning the lottery.
Dr. John Torres, NBC News.
And that NBC News marks the end of our bulletin tonight. But before we close off, let's have a quick recap of our headlines. Hybrid vehicles are set to be taxed, and gambling companies will also be required to pay 40% tax, which are among the provisions included in the revised tax and duty laws passed by the Chamber of Deputies on Tuesday. Experts in construction and those who rely on such services were presented with an upgraded system for applying for building permits this Tuesday, aimed at speeding up service delivery. On the international scale, power is almost fully restored in Spain after a massive blackout impacted millions across Europe, including Portugal. And on that note, on behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, we would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. I who brought you tonight's bulletin is Martina Avera, and up until next time, stay safe and have a good night.
Thank you.